Well, hello everyone. Welcome to our creative Q&A panel. I'm so excited to be here today and welcome you to our session. We've got some really special guests with us that will introduce themselves in just a moment, and then we'll get a chance to ask them some questions and have a great discussion all about creative entrepreneurship, all about the creative industries, and find out what our guests have been working on. Okay, so my name is Justina Turner. I'm the incubation manager at the Launch Business Incubator. And I've been working with students at the University of Salford over the last 10 years. Majority of that time was spent supporting them in their careers, supporting them with their enterprising and employability skills, running various programs and sessions that gives students the skills to get started in self-employment. So the reason I was really interested in working in that field is I'm actually creative myself, so I've always been really interested in various mediums of art. I've been an artist, I've been a photographer, I've also had my own jewelry brand. So I've had some really interesting experiences over the years, starting with photography. I was a photographer. I was doing portraits and also some different kind of creative artistic pieces that I was selling in galleries and to individuals, and also pop-up shops. So we just had a session on pop-up shops earlier today. So I was really keen to kind of make sure that we're sharing all the skills, all the entrepreneurship skills with our students, because I actually made many mistakes. So a little bit further down the line, I also had my own jewelry brand where I was selling my jewelry in Affleck's Palace in Manchester. So I was really loved the community, really loved the culture there, and being able to share my creatives, my creative pieces with people that are interested in that. And now, like I mentioned, I did make quite a few mistakes. So very shortly after that, I have signed up to Salford's one of the first business boot camps and attended all the programs as I was working at Salford. And I was just so passionate and committed to support students because all the different things I learned in just a matter of a few days really would have helped me so much when I was running my own business. So I'm really keen to share my experience, to share all of our guest experiences as something that you can pick up as some tips that maybe you haven't thought about when you're starting your creative practice, when you're starting your journey in selling your creative wares or freelancing. So without any further delay, I'd like to start introducing our guest speakers, and hopefully we can have a really great discussion later on. So first up, I've got Victoria Mearns from Little House of Victoria, and she was one of our cohort members on Launch, a business incubator, and she can tell you a little bit more about her business. So I'm just going to share some slides in just a moment, and over to you, Vicky.
Okay, hi. I can't see my slides actually. Is there something that I'm doing wrong?
No, I am just sharing them. Just give me one
I'm
moment.
sorry. It's a while
One
since
second.
I've been on Blackboard.
That's fine. I just have to swap between both decks. So there we are.
Okay.
Go ahead, Vicky. Yeah.
Right, okay, that's lovely. So yes, I'm Victoria from Little House of Victoria, or Vicky, as some people do know me. And my business is creative embroidery kits, tuition and workshops, and I'm a stitch artist. So I launched my business last year in June 2020 during lockdown. I joined Launch, I think it was in the start of the year, it must have been. And the primary business, as I said, is the sale of embroidery kits. I was doing an MA in contemporary fine art at the University of Salford when I joined Launch, and I've since done a PGCE Masters in Art and Creative Practice, which I just completed pretty much last week, actually. Um, so my business focus is Stitch for Wellbeing and the therapeutic benefits of craft. So with the recognition of how craft practice can help mental health, so the business is slanted towards that. And I produce embroidery kits for beginners and advanced stitchers as well. And with the PGC that I've just done, I offer tuition and workshops, which I've done quite a few of. And these are some of my products. So this is a product portfolio that I've built up over the year. There are some wool felted product kits, some traditional embroidery kits, magnetic needle minders. All of these I've designed and produced and supplied to various channels. This is my more recent product, which is felted embroidery. And my channels to market are the website that I have, Little House of Victoria. I have recently, since February, progressed into a TV career. Can't quite believe I'm saying it. But I've had 3 appearances on the craft store, which was previously Hochanda. So it's great to get really close to my customers in that way. I'm also in a little independent shop in Orrell called the Little Workshop, which is a sort of renovation furniture shop that focuses on crafts for local people. And the positive impact of Launch. Well, when I joined, I got a whole load of business mentoring and training, and it's been amazing. So initially I pitched and got the initial funding to set the business up, which really helped me massively, especially because I'd lost my employment at lockdown. I was introduced to Dar Studio, who did all the branding and the website, which has opened so many doors for me. So many people have said how professional it looks, so I'm delighted with that. And as I said, I gained valuable business advice, and I was introduced to Business Growth Hub with mentoring, which was brilliant. And then just last week, I secured extra funding. And I think that's all the slides, isn't it? I think I've come to the end.
Thanks so much, Vicky. I'm just not that fast at swapping around, but it's so great to hear from you, and thank you for sharing and introducing yourself. So I'll be really curious to hear once we've got the discussion, some more answers from you. So thank you. Okay, so moving onwards, I've got Alexandra from Dar Studio. So Alexandra, if you mind just saying hello and introducing yourself? Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Hi, and it's so nice to see Victoria here as well. I didn't really prepare any fancy slides, unfortunately. But hi, I'm Alexandra. So Daria is not here today, but Daria and I co-founded that studio almost, it's like 2 years and a bit now, over 2 years now. And we're basically doing, offering creative services, and we specialize in working with young businesses and entrepreneurs for over a year now. So we do branding, website design, but also just generally like we like to support people with business ideas. And, you know, because we've been through that, just technically we're still kind of through that, you know, like when you're still in the early stages. Yeah, we kind of are good with helping people navigate all the pain points that come with being young and trying to start a business, and usually try to be very supportive. And just about me, very briefly, we actually did, so I did human-centered design. So we did design thinking and all like in university, which is all about being very thoughtful and putting like human at the center of whatever we do. So we try to create quite meaningful things, and we like to work with people that try to be sustainable or create some positive change. And yeah, that's more or less me. And yeah, not many. No, I wish I had a few slides, but there you go.
Oh, no worries. This is more of a discussion. So thanks so much for sharing, Alexander. That's great. So up next, we've got a special guest, so Nikita. So would you like to tell us a little bit about you and Mickey Mouse Music?
Hi everyone, my name is Nikita. I am DJ and music producer, and I perform and release music on the artist alias of Nicky Miles. I studied Masters of Audio Production, of Audio Engineering actually, in University of Salford, which has not a lot to do with music, but actual audio. So it was more of a technical side of production rather than creative. But what I'm doing within my business, I release and produce music as an independent music artist. But I also do a lot of side things as a freelancer. So I mix and master music. I do some music promotion services across digital streaming platforms such as Spotify and stuff like that. I also operate as a sort of music imprint by releasing my own music and releasing music of my fellow friends and producers whom I help to finish their projects and give them the platform to release their stuff to bigger audiences. So yeah, I mainly focus around music production. On like creative side of my business, but I also do like a lot of engineering side of things. So I am always open for freelance projects related to recording, dialogue recording for films, editing, audio editing, all of big various sides of audio production. So in terms of how I started, it all started as a hobby back in 2014 when I was in school. I was just making music for fun, and then I started releasing music and getting some audience. I started getting show requests and bookings, so I started performing music not only in my home country Latvia and here in the UK, but also around the globe. I played in Morocco, Switzerland, Lithuania, Czech Republic, Austria, and many different other countries across Europe. And yeah, it all became a business at some point, and I had to establish myself as a self-employed individual to make to register all the profit I have to make it official. And yeah, this is how I found Launch Business Incubator in the University of Salford, and I did I don't remember the number of cohort I was in, but it was last year, April, May, something around that. And yeah, I was lucky enough to get a grant from Launch to develop um, my music career and invest in some of the equipment that was very essential for music production to make a further step in music business. So I guess that's it for my introduction.
Fantastic. Well, thanks so much for sharing that with us. That's really great to hear what you've been up to. Yeah. Okay, so up next, last but not least, we've got Adina Nelly. So if you'd like to introduce yourself, Adina. Thank you.
Hi everyone, another musician here, following Nikki. I'm Adina Nelu. I'm a classically trained composer, vocalist, and multi-instrumentalist. And I work with independent filmmakers, video game developers, video production companies to create bespoke music services for their projects. So I am a film composer. But I also work with different kinds of media projects, with video poems, audio books, audio essays, and so on, even fashion magazine digital covers. So I graduated at Salford in 2018, and since then I became part of Launch, where I started my business. And before becoming part of the Launch team, I had no idea what business meant. I was an expert in my own field. In my own field, I had studied music for 15 years of my life, but had no idea how to monetize it. Now. Here I am working with all kinds of projects. Since being on Launch, I created original music for the Greater Manchester Combined Authority, for BBC Arts, for my favorite music software company, which is Spitfire Audio. I worked with high-profile influencers, and I scored 3 feature films. Actually, I'm currently working on my 3rd feature film, about to finish it. And I'm very happy to be here. I think Launch offered me a lot of support on my business journey, and I think I've come a long way since I first set foot in the Launch headquarters. So thank you for having me here today.
Thank you so much, Dina, and thanks to all of our speakers for that introduction. So just to recap, Launch is our business incubator on campus. It's located within the Salford Business School, and we help students and graduates, as you've just heard, set up in business. So they come and join us on a cohort basis, and it's for 6 months, various sessions, networking, and funding opportunities. So we'll post some more information of how you can get involved later down the line. But just thank you so much for joining us. And what we'll do is we'll just have a few questions to start off our Q&A. So up first, I've got a question here, and I'd like to ask, first of all, Victoria. So why did you decide to go into self-employment and work within the creative industries?
The creative industry I chose because it's my passion, really. I mean, I've got a background in retail and in buying, in particular in product, but I've always been really creative, and it's just what drives me. And I like being self-employed. I like getting up in the morning and knowing that you know, the master of your own destiny, if you like. Yeah, just to be self-employed is great.
Fabulous, thank you. I mean, there's just so many different reasons people choose self-employment. Actually, in the creative industries, that is self-employment. Oftentimes, that's the way that you have to develop your career. So I'm glad to hear that you enjoy it, and it is something that motivates you to get up in the morning. Great. So up next, Alexander, if you could tell us why did you decide to go into self-employment in the creative industries?
Hi, yes. Well, for us, it was a combination of things. The first one, definitely the fact that we could do our own, sort of like pick more or less what we're doing and manage our own schedule, and also almost kind of pick who we work with, because you get more, you can kind of like get to know people more, speak with them, especially when we work with young businesses, because it's not the same as working with a bigger corporation or being part of a studio. And secondly, because no, it was mostly that. I didn't want to have to sit in a chair for 7 hours and being told what to do. Sort of, I like trying different types of things in how we approach things, but also the outputs we do, and this was just far more satisfying. So yeah.
Fantastic. So I think it's that autonomy and choosing the work that you want
Yeah.
to do, and so that's another reason, great reason to become self-employed. So thanks for that. Okay, so up next, Nikita, would you tell us? I think you told us a little bit when you were introducing yourself how you ended up doing music, but maybe some reasons behind that.
Well, again, at first point it was just a hobby, and it ended up becoming a business, which is quite a good thing for me, because this is something I dreamt of when I was back in my home country in Latvia. Why did I become self-employed? I believe it's just sort of an industry standard for electronic music production, because the way the business works is that you create a piece of music and then you license it to a bigger music label so they could exploit it as a part of their label catalog, and get some revenue from your music. And you are sort of um, you're basically self-employed, and you are licensing your music to someone instead of just working for someone um, to push your music somewhere. So I guess it's just an industry standard for me. That's why I became self-employed.
Fantastic. So thanks for sharing that. It's really good to see the different career paths as well, depending on what area you are within the creative industries. Um, Fab. So up next, Dina, why did you decide to go into self-employment?
So first of all, when I graduated from Salford, I had no idea how to how to practice um, my own composition, you know. And I tried looking for companies that would hire me as a composer, and there weren't much, you know. I wasn't very employable. I realized after after graduating my master's and also a bachelor's degree in composition. So I just came into Launch and I realized that self-employment is actually the legal structure that is most fit to what I do. And in hindsight, I think that was a great choice because uh, that allowed me to develop my business on my own terms and uh, as Alexandra said, to pick my own projects and kind of lead uh, lead from the heart, as opposed to as having to work with all kinds of projects that come my way just because I'm on a payroll. So yeah, I think right now, anyway, self-employment is the most appropriate thing for me.
That's great. Oh, thank you so much. It's so interesting to see that different people have different reasons, but actually it is the industry standard of working in creative industries. Self-employment is often that's the career path to go down. Fabulous. So up next, we have a question from the audience as well as one of my list. So the question is about obstacles that our panelists had to overcome when first setting up in self-employment. So if we again go back to Victoria, if you want to talk to us, if you've had any obstacles you had to overcome.
Yeah, there was. When I first came to Launch, it was early. It must have been January 2020 before we even heard of the virus, really. And my business idea was to provide face-to-face workshops and tutorials in embroidery. But when the pandemic hit and lockdown, I had to pivot the business really quickly to go online. And with hindsight, it worked well. That's where it's supposed to be. But that was a massive obstacle, just what was happening in the world and having to react really quickly.
Okay, yeah, that sounds great. So Alexandra, any barriers and obstacles you had to overcome?
For me, I would say that because we were part of the first cohort, so we started quite, before this whole thing happened. The biggest barrier in the beginning, I think a lot of it was finding the right services to offer and also finding basically like figuring out how to price yourself, you know, because it's, especially if you're self-employed, it's okay, you're trying to offer all of these things. You're not an agency, but you're not just like with us, at least there were two of us, so we are more of a package deal and we offer far more value because of that. So it was something in between for us. So pricing ourselves and figuring out almost, your minimal viable product, your things that you can offer that can sell and you can make a profit. Yeah, that was the most difficult one, and it took ages to sort of get it or get it right, hopefully. We're still, like trying, because we're also still trying to be very approachable and affordable, because we work with people with, limited budgets and stuff. We had to be very flexible in terms of services and pricing and how can we offer the most value while not just becoming another studio. But it worked out in the end. But yeah, it's one of those things you learn with every project. It's yeah.
Yeah, that's so important to get that pricing right. And I think, like I said, it's well worth the time to take that time and consider that, especially looking at who your customers and your audience. So I'm glad that you've worked through that. Okay, so up next we got Nikita. Have you had any major obstacles when you were working on your music?
I had, yeah. I think having obstacles is quite a big part of being self-employed, because you always have to overcome loads of challenges that come your way. Uh, well, for me, the major obstacle to set up myself as self-employed was just not really knowing how the business works in the UK, first of all, because I am not from the UK. I am from Latvia, and the business works a little bit different there. So I had to come to a launch to just get the basics, just to know the information on how to set up the business here and how to operate the business here, how to become a self-employed. The second thing, which is more very specific to my business, is when you're trying to self-release music, you're kind of putting yourself in a competition to really big major music labels who sort of control the market. In some sense, if you're trying to release music, you're less likely to get an airplay on like major radio stations like BBC Radio 1, let's say. But bigger labels who release music of major artists, they just get like 50% of airplay on biggest radio stations. They get 50% of playlists on Spotify. Their music is always promoted by the digital streaming platforms themselves. So my major obstacle was and still is like the actual thing, how to compete with these big giants of the music market while you're being self-employed as a musician. So yeah, I guess that's the major thing. But of course, there are even like smaller challenges that you still have to overcome. Because one of those is that you always have to make sure that you're gonna have income next month. That was like one of the major problems for me at first, because when you are working for a company, you can be sure that you're gonna get paid every month. But when you're self-employed, and if this is your only way of income, you just have to ensure that the product you're putting out is the highest quality possible, so you're getting paid next month as well.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that with us. I think that's really some interesting insights there for everyone that goes into self-employment. They have to keep thinking what's next, and are there maybe different revenue streams to look at to make sure that you're able to sustain your business. So thanks for sharing. Okay, and up next, Adina, have you faced any major obstacles within your career as a musician?
Um, yeah, sure. For me, it was definitely having to learn how to balance the creative and the administrative part of being self-employed in a creative business. Because I went in thinking it can't, it can't take that much effort to keep the business up from the background while I'm writing music, being creative, working with all these wonderful projects. But it's not like that really. It's not even a 50-50 spread. I think I'm doing a lot more administrative things than I'm doing creative at the moment. Yeah. So it's a bit of a disillusion for creatives going into business, because we always think, yeah, we're gonna follow our dreams and our passion, and we're gonna create beautiful things, put them out in the world, but it takes a lot of effort in the background, to do that. So that was the one for me.
Oh, thanks for sharing that tip as well. It's so it's often really important that people realize, everything that there is to do within a creative business. It's not just the enjoyable parts, which you love doing, you're passionate about. It's everything behind the scenes, like making sure all the accounts are done, making sure the website works, all those things which are not so exciting. Some of them, potentially, if you are lucky enough to have enough kind of income at the beginning, or some investment, you'll be able to outsource some of that. And we've heard some of our businesses already gone to a web designer, for example. Potentially, some businesses are able to, or freelancers see an accountant, so that can take some of that strain away. But again, not everyone is able to, and knowing everything yourself, I would say, definitely is a good tip. So making sure that you know what's happening within your account, because even if you do outsource it to your accountant, I think ultimately everybody that is the business owner is responsible. It's not the accountant. So just a little tip from me here. Okay, so up next, I've got another question here, and I'm just really curious to know about how everyone grew their networks, and whether that networking activity has supported them with growing their business. So up first, I'm going to ask Victoria, just to, if you tell us a little bit about networking and perhaps what you've been doing recently.
Yeah, I mean, I've been in the house for the last 14 months, so everything I've done has been online, and like this as well. But Instagram has been huge for me. I think it's really hard work. I'm just about to pay for some advertising. I think it's necessary to do that now. I've got 744 followers. I'm a bit obsessed. I'm constantly posting, but Instagram for me is where it's at, and Launch has been great for networking as well. Things like this have been an absolute lifeline. Yeah.
Fabulous. Well, I'm so glad that you're able to use some of the sessions that we've got and also using social media. So that's interesting. That's really good to hear. Uh, okay, so up next, I'd like to ask Alexandra and maybe the role of networking in growing your business.
Yes, well, there is definitely I'm not much of a networker, but like people said, you need to be able to do the things you don't like to do as well. It is important that you have connections. For us, because sometimes we work with freelancers as well, we need to have people that we know that can do this, can do that. So definitely we need to be able to you know go to places where you can find those people, talk to them, exchange contacts, stuff like that. And we do get most of our clients through word of mouth right now as well. So people talking about you and stuff like that are really important. I would say that for us, yeah, I don't know, we didn't get super much out of a lot of well, the one from Launch is the networking through Launch was quite good because you get lots of diverse people and lots of people that are not necessarily, like just business people or investors or whatever. So it depends kind of what you're trying to get through it. I would say that it's important to network but more than that, it's important to talk about yourself. So it doesn't really matter if it's a networking event or it's just going out to a festival or just with people in a cafe. You need to be able to talk to yourself because that's how you build um, that's how you build a pool of people that will help propel your business forward. And in terms of social media channels, we mostly use Instagram because it's so visual and it makes sense if you're a very visual business to have a place where you can you can let the images speak for themselves, so to say. But yeah.
Fabulous. And I think, Alex, that's a really good point to bring that. And networking, it's not always going to the formal networking events because that's maybe not necessarily how creatives network. It's about, attending other sessions. It's having those conversations with colleagues and explaining this is what you do. And like I said, if your business comes through referrals, then having those conversations is more important than maybe doing that formal structured thing. So I think some of the ways that you guys, I've just watched you building your network was through actually delivering workshops for us in Launch, through, doing different promotions, and we're able to share that as part of the Launch team. We're happy to share and promote everything that our businesses do. So there's been maybe some clients that came through that way. So yes, I'm just really pleased that there's so many different ways you can do it, and the team here, we're always happy to support all our members in that way. Okay, so up next, Nikita, in terms of any networking that you do for your business.
So I believe networking is very essential in music business because you have to find the right people to pitch your music to so they could help you to promote it. Although when you're self-releasing artist, it's quite difficult yet again because most of the people are linked with big labels and big radio stations and stuff like that. I would say you can always try to attend various events like a launch, for example, or before the pre-lockdown times, I used to go to one of the biggest electronic dance music conferences in the world, which is called Amsterdam Dance Event, which is happening every October. This is probably the biggest networking event you could imagine in electronic dance music. And I actually went there, just visited various panels, met new people, met other producers, met labels, playlist curators, and other people who might benefit from what I can do for them, and I could benefit from what they could do for me. So yeah, music business is kind of thing where you sort of find people whom you could do something and they could do something to you in favor.
Right, so it's all about that kind of collaboration and different favors you can, exchange between colleagues. So really, really great to hear that it's something that's really important. So really great point there for our aspiring entrepreneurs. Okay, up next we've got Adina. Adina, can you tell us about the role networking has played in you growing your business?
I finally decided to get into networking in February 2020. As we all know, it didn't work out. So I started my networking life, so to speak, in the pandemic. But I think um, one of the things that has worked for me is before I even started my business, I applied to all of these talent development schemes, for example, conducted by Brighter Sound, which is a music charity based in the north of England. I also applied to BBC New Creatives. I was commissioned by them, and through these, I created some, networks of professionals that know of my work, and they can recommend me to other people. Um, Most recently, I was selected for BAFTA Crew 2021, which is again a community of individuals working in the film industry that are at the same stage of their career as I am, and that has been great because we've been having virtual networking sessions, and I've connected with some, like-minded creatives for future collaborations on there. But yeah, I think the favorite is Instagram, because I've created a very engaging community on Instagram, and as a result, most of my paid work comes through Instagram, which is great for me. And that's why I'm also looking to invest more in equipment that will allow for better content, which is that award that I got from you
Great.
um, last week. So yeah, I think Instagram has worked best in connecting with like-minded individuals and creatives within the film and creative industries.
So that's really great to hear. So again, more votes for social media networking and Instagram, quite a few, a good place for creatives for networking, and good to hear that you were able to take part in different competitions and different support organizations where actually they put people together, within the industry to network. So that's a really great way if perhaps maybe walking into a room full of people is not really an option at the moment, or it's not really an option that someone likes. For example, I know networking is important, and I still take part in these big events and speak to others, but it's not something I feel naturally comfortable with. And I think that's absolutely fine if you don't want to come walk into a room full of people and start introducing yourself to them. I think that's pretty normal if you find that pretty, it's not something that's natural. And so that's really great that you can take part in different programs and support, and you can learn and kind of meet people that way. So thank you for that. Uh, okay, so my next question would be then about perhaps if there's someone within the creative industry that any of you wanted to share that is making a big difference. Perhaps if there's a role model that you have that you could tell us about, and how they're making a difference within the industry. So I will, if there's anyone that from our panel that would like to speak, go ahead.
I think for me, if I can just say, I don't want to be too cheese on toast about this, but Daria and Alex from DAR Studio, they do inspire me, and they're really good role models because they work with smaller businesses to help to improve them, and it is their USP that they do that, but it's really valued, and it's quite really heartwarming that people are staying true to their values and sort of doing that. So yeah, people doing things like that I find really good.
Fantastic. So other small businesses that are supporting other businesses, that makes a
Yeah,
big difference in the industry.
absolutely. Yeah, and there's been so much of it from Launch. Even people that maybe weren't in creative industries, the actual contacts that have made, we've supported each other all the way through, and we still do. And it's, what is it, over a year on, isn't it?
That's right. So I think it's that importance of that business community, I think, and even if it's not creatives, you've got that support behind you. Great. Thanks for sharing.
Thank you, Victoria. It's really, it's heartwarming. We're really, really glad that we're making even a small difference. For us, well, we are inspired by all the businesses that we work with that, are trying to make positive change or are trying to create more sustainable products. And yeah, there's like lots of people that inspire us and kind of give us the energy to move forward. And of course, then you have the bigger sort of far away people as well that are kind of really interesting and you want to be like them or like you like what they're doing. We like a few design studios as well that are quite well, not necessarily cheeky, but they're quite true to themselves. Yeah, like we try to be true to ourselves and we like people that are the same and try to stand for their values. But yeah, that's from us, definitely.
So I think it's that being authentic and kind of really honoring that and making that your unique selling point. So that's really great to hear. It's always good to have role models or other businesses that you look for, up to, and potentially um, you'll be able to see and grow and be just like them. I think just personally, just to add a note, whilst I was a creative, I actually was the most inspired through attending some of the business support sessions when I was still an artist and a creator. And actually, I looked up to the colleagues that created those programs, and to me, I just found that what an amazing job, right? To help people to bring all those businesses together. And I thought to myself, I'd love to do her job in the future. This was about 9.5 years ago. I was thinking that to myself, and how funny life works out that actually I am able to do that and make that difference for others. And I think I find that very, very fulfilling. So it's kind of following those role models and those people. So I think just personally, Naomi Timperley, who's run quite a few sessions over the festival, she's been one of those role models to me across the festival. We've had Adrian Ashton doing sessions all about social enterprises, and Elaine Simons as well, helping through the Creatives Week and doing some amazing sessions. So those are my three role models, and I work with them every day. So I find myself really lucky. So I think having that goal when you do have another business that you potentially are admiring and look forward to maybe working with, maybe watch them from afar, but perhaps a goal would be let's work together, let's collaborate. It's always so fulfilling, personally anyway. So brilliant. Okay, we have a question from our audience here. So moving on, we've got with Instagram in particular, can you recommend any tools or tips in managing your own account? So for example, around time of day to post, how to maximize interest, sales, and interactions with your followers. So I'll open that up to the panel.
I can recommend that you get a business account with Instagram if you can, and that will enable you to look at insights. So you'll see who your audience is by age split, by gender, by country, by town, all kinds of when they're actually online looking at your posts as well. That's really useful. So I know that mine is at 6 o'clock at night, probably when people are making their tea. I think I can imagine they've got the phone in one hand and they're looking at Instagram. But the business insights section on Instagram will help you really drill down as to who your audience is.
Oh, thanks so much for that, Victoria. Really, really great tip. Anyone else's tips for Instagram use?
Can I?
Yeah, of course, go ahead.
So Instagram is quite a big platform for any music artist, I believe. I cannot really tell how much Instagram can influence your sales because I do not sell product as such on Instagram, but I use Instagram as a platform to reach broader audiences, and I would say that there are quite a few ways of how you can push your posts to wider audiences by just using Instagram algorithms. First of all, try to use as many new options as you can. Like imagine Instagram puts out a new feature like stickers or something like that. On the first stages, Instagram tries to push the content that uses their new features as much as they could. So let's say they've introduced Reels half a year ago, I think. And if you even at a certain point, if you push like something on Instagram and use Reel, there is more chance Instagram is gonna suggest your video to someone else who doesn't even follow your profile. Another thing I could mention is try to ask your like friend bubble or your family to like and comment as much as they could, because the more activity you have on your posts, the more your Instagram profile is going to pop up somewhere in the recommended section. There are even some artist-related groups of like-minded people who do like comment for comment things. They actually comment each other's posts, and this is how they influence Instagram algorithm to push your material to people who might be interested in your topic. Because let's say there is a music producer who makes quite a similar music genre to what I do, and we comment each other's posts, and this is how my music is gonna pop into recommended list of his followers and vice versa. So just try to be as active as you could on Instagram.
Great. So it's really good to see that kind of collaboration and interacting with other artists and other within the same industry can actually get you some more exposure. So that's a great tip. Thank you. Any other tips from our panelists today?
Yeah,
I,
I have.
Go
So
ahead, Adenia. Yeah.
depending on how you position your brand, for example, if you're a business, yeah, I think you should use those kind of tools that you mentioned. But for me, for example, that wouldn't work because I want to come across as a real person, you know, that posts whenever they have the time and whenever, you know, I try to stay true to who I am on Instagram, and that has worked so far because people are more inclined to start a conversation, to ask questions about my music, and so far they don't perceive me as this intangible, you know, abstract concept that is a business, which has worked for me very well so far. And I also have another tip, which is if you're using all kinds of equipment or software, or if you have friends that I don't know, have art or photography and stuff like that, just tag them, tag everyone that's involved in your post, even if you don't think about it. Maybe there's a, you know, there's a piece of equipment in the background of your picture. Just tag those people who made it, because uh, I've been doing this for a while, and finally, as I mentioned earlier about my collaboration with Spitfire Audio, which is honestly, I was shocked because that's my favorite music software company ever, and they produce the highest quality software instruments, virtual instruments. And they got in touch through my email button on Instagram. So yeah, put your email on Instagram, by the way. Um, so I ended up creating music and content for them, and from that collaboration, well, not only my video has over 30,000 views on their own account, but also I've gotten over 300 people to follow me in the space of 24 hours when they posted that video, and that's just great. If something like that happens, always say yes and like be open to all kinds of collaborations. I was super happy with it.
Fantastic. What a great opportunity. Some really, really great tips there. I was just going to go now to my last question, and that really is more about other tips that any of our panelists can give to our audience, to any future aspiring creative entrepreneurs that will be sharing this recording with. So anybody that has a top tip around their business, for example, so some maybe some do's and don'ts, if anyone would like to share.
Shall I go
I,
first?
Yeah,
yeah,
go
go for
ahead.
it.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry, Alex, go on.
Sorry, yeah, it's okay. So what I wanted to say is that don't be afraid to sort of take your time and let your business develop. You need to see what fits, and like, don't be afraid of change, especially now in the digital era. You kind of need to be very adaptable and change, and find your niche, find your place. So don't, for example, be super scared that, oh, I don't have all my marketing in place, or I don't know quite exactly everything. And try to find those people that have the knowledge that you're missing. Try to not try don't try to do quite everything yourself, even though you're gonna often not have to. Try to help yourself by finding people around you that can help. That's from me.
Great. Well, thank you so much. Yes, it is important to have that support in place and be open to asking for help. So thank you. Okay, I think up next we've got Victoria.
Yeah, I was going to say, get to know your customer really well and get to know your competitors really well. I've made friends with some of mine, and I like to call them inspirers rather than competitors, because they do inspire me. And I think sometimes you can make friends with them and you can help each other. I mean, there are some I wouldn't do that with, but it's just to really get immersed in the business that you're in. So anything that's connected to it, customers, competitors, products, everything, get to know everything, do your research.
Fantastic. That's music to my ears, Victoria. I always, when I speak with students or participants in Launch, I say market research is so important. I think that's probably one of the mistakes I made when I was first starting in business several years ago. I was making my creations for myself. I just loved it and I wanted to express my creativity. But as an artist, it's so hard to detach from that and say, okay, well, what would my audience want? Who's going to pay me for that? And it took me quite some time to get my head around that issue of, am I selling out? That's something, I always, as an artist, that I worried. But over the years, you realize that actually it's business, and you can still do something that you love, and you can still be creative and come up with new designs, new patterns, new music, but you're still able to listen to your clients. So it's that balance. So
Yeah,
thank you for sharing that,
that's
Victoria.
really important actually. But there is a danger with market research. If you ask too few a sample, so not many people, you're not going to get a quality answer. That's the basis of market research, is that the more people you can ask, the better quality information you get. So there is a point where you have to go with your gut instinct, and that's what I've done, and it's really scary. So there are ways to sort of test products, and Instagram's good for that. I'll just test the temperature of whether people visually like something, but it is really difficult. So the more people you can ask, the better, really.
Great. So thank you for that. And there's that danger of friends and family too. I think don't ask your friends and family because they're always going to be polite and say that they like it. So try to go beyond that. And like I said, and another pitfall just to add to that is don't spend a whole year doing market research. So a lot of new businesses spend quite a lot of time in that phase where they actually become a little worried. Like you said, it's quite terrifying, to kind of go out and take that next step. I would always say try to do some test trading, try to do that next step and make a sale. And then you can actually get a verification of what your clients want. Fabulous. Okay. Any other tips for our participants?
I,
Okay, go ahead.
I
Yeah.
absolutely agree with what Alexandra and Victoria said. One thing I wanted to mention is when I visited like loads of panels previously myself, like especially the music ones, everyone was talking like stay true to yourself and just don't try to copy everyone. And it was kind of annoying at that point, but now I sort of understand this because especially with creative industries, you have to make your products to stand out. The thing is, if you're, let's say, trying to make music, you're trying to become as popular as, like, let's say, David Guetta or Avicii or other music producers who are related to my music genre, you don't want to copy their music because this kind of music is already on the market. Try to create something new, and this is how you are going to get the audience attracted to your music, because don't try to make music that is already on the market because you're not going to sell it better than big artists do this already. So try to make something unique. This is what I believe is very important within the creative businesses.
Fabulous. Well, thanks so much for sharing that. Really, really great insights there too about the music industry. Okay, any last minute tips from our panel?
I have one.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't underestimate the power of social media. Find your social media platform that works for you and your business and fully commit to it, and it will do wonders for you.
Fantastic. So thank you for that, Adina. So thanks everybody for some really, really interesting tips, some really great insights from you guys. So I find this is always so rewarding to have these conversations, to really hear kind of what's been happening with all our launch cohorts, and to hear more about some of the do's and don'ts that some of our aspiring entrepreneurs can learn from. So thank you for taking the time and sharing with us today. We really, really appreciate that. And for our audience, you can engage with us. You can get connected on social media, as per Adina's tip. Make sure that you come and engage with us. If you're engaging with us through Launch, if you have a business, you can actually, tag us on Instagram. Make sure you can tweet us, do a post, include us in that, and we're happy to share. We're always happy to promote aspiring entrepreneurs. We're always really happy to do that bit of promotion and get the businesses out there. So here is our contact details there, and I'm sure that Jess can put our email address in the chat box too, and if you need to get in touch for any email or any questions after today. Thanks so much, Jess, and thanks everybody. Fabulous. Well, I will now just wish you to have a really wonderful rest of your week, and thanks again for joining us. All the best for now. Bye bye.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye.
you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, everyone.